everybody? Welcome to the Glory Hunters, now permanent Sunday podcast. 200s in the realm. Mr. Glory Hunter Ed, Glory Hunter Nick, representing Braintree and Arsenal, who just finished their North London Derby. We got Orson Wellies on the stick. How are you gentlemen doing?
Good, yeah, really good. Happy now that Arsenal won.
Arsenal won.
Before we rivals today.
Yeah, it's a big one. Before we get our main topic, me and Nick talk. I'll run it right to you. Me and Nick talked about City doing it again. Nick thinks so. Arsenal's gotten close 2 years ago, ran the league right up until the end. What's your shot this year? Obviously, you got to win your derbies. Do you think you guys are going to get competitive as long as Pep's going to be in City, or are you just a Champions League team? What do you think, Orson?
I think at the moment it's nigh on impossible to consider any other option than City being the champions again. Why is that?
I know you're not just being fair, but why exactly is that, you think?
It's the way Pep drills his team. It's the way he can get a result every single time. Haaland seems to be on fire this year, even more so than last year.
Yeah.
Even though I've always claimed there's a way to stop him, and that's by letting him have the ball at his feet. He can't pass people. He can't dribble past anybody. But give him room and space and he'll punish you. And they've had a good run of form coming into the start of the season. And I just don't see it being any other team than City this year in the league.
That's interesting. I actually kind of like to see a new champion. I also wonder, maybe we'll get into that later, is the potential punishment for City and how that's going to go. I'm sure there's going to be some controversy, some fireworks for that. But before we get going, boys, let's go right to our main topic. Since 1968, Mr. Forrest has not beaten Liverpool. They really have not been a top-tier team since, the 40s, before the war? Can you help me with that, Nick?
Oh, Forrest. Forrest were really good, I want to say, the late 70s, early 80s, maybe?
Late 70s, early 80s.
They won 2 Champions League with Brian Clough. And then, for the past 2 decades, they've been a lower league side.
And 1968, a relatively uneventful game, but a goal. Who's this gentleman that scored the goal? Because I did not watch this game, to be honest with you. I didn't.
Adam Hudson-Odoi scored.
Adam Hudson-Odoi. This is a big loss for a team that is expected to at least make a run, possibly win the league. How damaging is this loss? And is Liverpool, they lost Jurgen Klopp. I've heard that Salah wouldn't have been there if Klopp was going to be there. We got a new coach. What are their chances this year, Nick?
As far as the title's concerned, I don't think they ever really stood a chance realistically, considering the fact that they lost Klopp and it was going to be a transitional period with Arne Slot coming in anyway. I do really like Arne Slot as a coach. I think he's fantastic, but that team, it was set up for Klopp. It was a Klopp team, not a Slot team, and so it would have been a huge ask to put him up against Arsenal, who are at the peak of their powers under Arteta, and Pep City, and expect him to teach his players his new style, sort of shift them over, and somehow come out on top against these 2 monumental sides. I think was never going to happen, but I still think Champions League should certainly be possible for them. I think a top 4 finish would be a good year for Liverpool, and I think it's certainly within the realm of possibility. This is a bad result, granted, but other than this, they've been pretty decent result-wise for the start of the season, so might not mean too much this result.
Well, if they go on, if they knock off another big side, this thing will be forgotten. If they knock off a City or an Arsenal, that'll definitely be forgotten. But I kind of agree with what you're saying. It's gonna. Let me kind of guess what you're saying. There's too much of a transition. Some players are gonna have to go and come for this to be the new coach's team, and that's going to cause some, not dissension, but some awkwardness maybe in a result in this game. Orson, what's your hopes for Liverpool, if any?
I can see them getting Champions League.
That's
I
it.
watched the match yesterday, and they were very poor. It was just, but I think that's more down to Nottingham Forest and how they're playing now under Nuno Espirito Santo, because man, are they tough. They really made it tough for Liverpool to play their own game, and this is considering the fact that Liverpool bet Man United 3-0 in the last game. So, I mean, it seemed like all guns blazing, but now I don't think it'll affect them too much, this loss.
You think they got out-coached? Because I noticed at the end there was a reference to the A-team. The commentator said, you love it when a plan comes together. Was that the plan, just to bog them down, get that cheap goal, and then bog them down again, just a super turtle style? Was that the role you think was going on, Nick?
Yeah, that's Espirito Santo all over. He did the exact same thing at Wolves. You know, he's an incredibly boring manager to watch half the time, but it's effective. He had some really good results with Wolves, took them up from the Championship to be a completely solid side in the Premier League challenging for Europe. You know, they were never really in serious danger under Nuno Espirito Santo, and that's because that's just the way he likes to play. He's all about the tough defence. He likes to lock up the team, make sure that you're not conceding any goals before he focuses on, you know, going forward. And so, yeah, we've seen it time and again with him in the past, and it seemed against Liverpool, it all came together again for him, completely shutting them down, getting their goal. A lovely finish as well for Hudson-Odoi. But that's just so Santo. Just defend, absolutely don't give the other team a chance to get a goal before you go and steal one your own.
I know this is because my background's mostly in hockey. Teams that have workhorses, we like to say role players, tend to go with the trappy defensive style. I've always kind of wondered for football, soccer in general, that these teams that don't have a player like Mohamed Salah, those the multi-million-dollar, the 10s, 20s, 30s, 40 millions, the Forest doesn't have an opportunity to pick a player like that. Why don't more teams play the high-powered offenses in a manner like Nuno Espirito Santo's doing? Why don't they just make it hell for them? Why don't you see that more often? Or is there a demand from the fans, or maybe just being the Premier League in general, to play a high-powered style, even if you don't have the tools on the field to do it?
I think it comes down to that is what the Premier League used to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Barclays men has been a big thing on Twitter recently. Everyone reminiscing back to like the 2000s and early 2010s Barclays Premier League, and that was exactly what the Barclays Premier League was. You saw managers like Tony Pulis, Sam Allardyce, Sean Dyche. All of these guys were always managing the lower teams, and that's exactly what it was. The saying "a cold wet night in Stoke" came from the fact that that's exactly what Stoke were. They were impossible to break down. They would throw everyone on their nan in front of the ball to stop it going in. And but as it sort of became this thing where these teams were seen as they weren't trying to win games, they were just trying to not lose them. And it was sort of got like a negative idea around it, like, oh, we're not as good as them, so instead of trying to beat them, we're just going to try and not lose and get a point on the board. And a lot of people thought that was a negative idea to go with. And then you got some newer teams come through, like your Brightons, your Brentfords, teams like that, who play more expansive football, who they go up to a Manchester United or a Liverpool, and instead of just sit back and try not to lose, they were like, look, we've got the system in place and the quality to try and get our own win out of this. And so they would then go play these more attacking styles against them and would occasionally get wins, and everyone would praise them for the fact that, oh yeah, they'd give it a go even though they're not as good. And so as time went on, the league sort of morphed where more lower teams were like, oh yeah, we want to try and get these wins where we can, rather than just be like Santo, who's got a more old school thinking of, look, we're better off just trying to not lose and try and steal the game rather than actually take the game to Liverpool.
Is it a style where you're trying not to lose, or so much trying to win, but win in a manner where that one, you get an opportunity to counter or transition, as they say in this game, and then just hold down the fort. I wouldn't say that's trying not to lose, but I mean, I think the biggest problem with that is just entertainment wise, and it's not fun to watch. And Orson, you said this wasn't a particularly exciting game. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. It was a terrible game to watch. I mean, Liverpool didn't really have any clear-cut chances. That's how good Forrest were at defending.
Would you say that Santo out-coached, that he was the better coach that day?
I think so, yeah. And Nick was right. It was a cold day in Stoke, as the saying goes. And not to forget as well, Rory Delap's throw-ins that Stoke City had. Absolute bombers. But it was just one of those days where Liverpool got out-coached, basically. The other team wanted it more than they did. And that's what happens in football.
That's true. In any game, I think, really. I mean, 9 times out of 10, they're all professionals. They're all at a high level. If you want it world, doesn't matter how many. If you want it bad enough, it doesn't really matter how many world-class players you're up against. I want to bring this up real quick, not so much because it's a funny meme, even though we do the funny memes. We'll do more today. Cristiano says, you remember any nicknames for Man United? Cristiano Ronaldo says Rooney for Rooney, and they say Shrek, and of course, although I don't remember him looking like that back in the Dizzy. Definitely. Is there something more? I guess this is more in the drama angle. Is there something more? Because just last week, me and Nick did a podcast, and Rooney made a crack about Ronaldo being an annoying guy, which is probably true. It is. I guess it's a little disconcerting. Look, I'm no United guy. I'm an anti-United guy, but I always like Wayne Rooney, and I don't like when teammates, and especially a situation with England and Portugal years back where Ronaldo suckered Rooney into a red card. It always seemed really low. Do these guys really not like each other this much, or is it just the bants? Nick? You don't know.
It is hard to tell when you're on the outside, isn't it? They could be texting each other behind this, just
let's do this today,
yeah. But at the same time, they might just not talk at all outside of this, and this is them just throwing slide punches at each other. Who fucking knows? Is
it? Should they be? All right, I'll ask Orson. Should they be doing this? They're ex-teammates. They were in the trenches together. I'm okay with, busting chops, but it just doesn't feel like busting chops. Should you be behaving like this considering how much history they have?
Yeah. I can see them being like this. I can see them being like this as teammates, and they're one of the greatest United sides that ever graced the pitch.
Sure.
So I think I think it is banter. I think it is just a bit of
use
back
the
and
bands.
forth.
Yeah. Yeah, it is funny. I'm a Wayne Rooney guy. Probably because of his Irish roots. I like Wayne. I like what he did in DC United. I think he should lose some weight. I wish that he was come to his own with coaching. I think his idea of working for Pep might be a good idea. He might have to go low on the totem pole, but hey, you got to start somewhere. And Birmingham wasn't it. Neither was DC United. I don't know. I don't particularly like that. I don't mind because I guess I just feel that there's something more to it, and I guess we'll leave it at that. Let's do some football history. Kevin De Bruyne, 10 years ago yesterday, De Bruyne went to City. I guess where did he come from? I'm trying to remember where he came from. He came from Germany. He played in the Bundesliga, right?
Wolfsburg.
Wolfsburg. That's right. And I think he played with a Wiesbaden player that we had a couple years ago. Johannes Ritz, too. His career didn't go the same way, obviously. I don't know. Where does he fall as, certainly he's one of the greatest Premier League players, but where does he fall in the world stage as far as all time? Not recent years. He's one of the best players in the world. Even I would even say right now. Where does he fall all time, Nick?
That is an impossible question to answer.
You think so?
Yeah, I just think because he's in that weird area where he's absolutely phenomenal, one of the greatest players ever, but he's not in the GOAT debate.
No,
You're
he's
not
not
talking
really in the
about,
GOAT debate.
he's not a top 10 player, and it's so much
No.
easier to place people when it's like you're talking about your top 10. All right, these guys. But when it comes to that tier of player like him, there's so many people in that tier. You got him, you've got like Roy Keane, Vieira, Yaya Toure, all in his position. That Frank Lampard, Gerrard, these are all great players who all played in one position, and it's like, where do you place them? Who's better out of all of them? It's very hard to say, but I think he falls in that tier of players just below the GOAT debate for me personally. You've got your like top 10 greatest players ever, your Cruyff, Messi, Ronaldo, Pele, that tier. And then you've got the tier below, which will be people like Kevin De Bruyne, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Van
Zlatan,
Basten, something like that.
yeah,
like
so
these were unbelievably great players, but they're not quite the greatest ever.
And the problem is he can't. I would ask you the question, okay, but what about this generation? But then you got Messi and Ronaldo in this generation, so it is kind of difficult. Any comment on that, Orson?
I think it's disappointing that his national team didn't live up to the hype of being the golden generation of footballers that came through and came together. To not win a trophy in that team is very disappointing. And he's the perfect player for Pep. I mean, the City fans adore him. I can't see him moving to another club ever for the rest of his career.
MLS, baby.
Maybe MLS. But I think it's a shame that on an international level that the team didn't win a trophy when they had the likes of Lukaku, De Bruyne. That's it's a shame.
Yeah.
And they didn't play well in the Euros either. And De Bruyne didn't even play well in the Euros, really.
No, I didn't.
I still rate him as a top player, but I wouldn't rate him as a GOAT.
Okay, let's check this out. This is a player I'd love to. I'm starting to really fall in love with. No, the fact that Jamal Musiala wasn't a Ballon d'Or nominee or is in the argument in favor of clubs interested in such as Manchester City is it difficult for the Bundesliga players to be recognized as global stars. I want to put this with a caveat. I think he's going to be in that conversation very soon, if not this year. I always thought that there's high expectations. He's supposed to be the next generation for Germany the last couple of years. I don't think he was living up to it. I think he was good, not great. Now he's great. He's living up to it. So I think there is a possibility that like anything outside the Prem or La Liga or playing on one of the big clubs is going to be very difficult for you to get noticed for the Ballon d'Or. There's going to be some bias there. Sure, we've seen league bias before. Certainly, if somebody scores 300 goals and for Santos, they're not getting the Ballon d'Or. It's just not happening. But at the same time, I don't know if Musiala's right there. I certainly think he's in the conversation. That is ridiculous. But last year, I'm not so sure. Nick?
I think one of the main reasons he would have been overlooked as a Ballon d'Or contender this year was Bayern
performance.
Didn't have a good year.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, Bayern dropped. Sure, we saw Harry Kane up there, but Harry Kane was always going to make it up there. He's like the established name, and he did get like the Bundesliga Golden Boot. He was like almost breaking. He broke the record for the most goals in a debut season, and so he still had the PR there to carry him. Whereas, Musiala, it's like that. There was such a negative idea around how poor Bayern's season were that. Even though Musiala did play quite well last year and he was quite good for Germany in the Euros, I think that would have dragged him down in terms of like the Ballon d'Or conversation.
Yeah.
But certainly going forward, it'd be crazy to think he won't be anywhere near it in the future.
No,
he could easily win one. If not, I would expect he would be top 3 at least once in his career.
Orson, how tough is it? Is there a bias, or is he not coming to his own just yet? Or he's coming into his own now, and that's not we're not talking about. Can a Bundesliga player win the Ballon d'Or in today's generation? In today's field? You think so?
I think so. Yeah, I think Musiala's a great chance if he keeps his head down and keeps doing what he's doing. Because from what I've seen of him, he's a fantastic player, absolutely brilliant. He was very good in the Euros, and I saw his goals from yesterday. What did you say the word, Tommy? Sick and twisted.
Sick and twisted.
That's the
That's my
term.
personal
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, he can be sick and twisted sometimes. The assist that he had
Yeah.
against Holstein Kiel, where he beat another guy, nutmegged the other, and centered it and buried. And I forget who got the goal, but there's times where, especially I noticed towards the end of last season, there's good players, there's great players, and there's players that scare the ever living shit out of you when you're going. And he's becoming that guy. Obviously, Kane, Messi, Ronaldo, they scare you senseless. Even as broken down as Ronaldo might be right now, he's still pretty frightening with the ball. And Musiala is becoming one of those guys. And on the flip side, so is Ritz, and that's a big thing in Germany now out here. They call him Ritziala. That connection is happening. I wonder what Bayern's going to try to do to get those two together, which is going to give Bayern a real advantage. I think I see that happening one day, although there's no rumors about it yet, Leverkusen fans. But yeah, I think he's going to be up there, and I also think that Gerdewan stepped down from captaincy, which I think it was too early. These guys will be the leaders and the captains of the future. Neuer stepped down. So yeah, this is a new thing, and I think I would imagine they would be going into the United States World Cup or the North American World Cup. I guess we don't do countries anymore. I can't imagine Germany won't be favored, especially after a showing. And now they have to qualify, which is going to, I really just bring up their game. I think I said this going into the Euros. Germany didn't have to qualify. I saw the same thing happen to them in 2006 with the World Cup. They're going to be challenged. They're going to be sharp. They're going to be dangerous. And I think they may actually pick up the World Cup at the end of the World Cup. And was it 2026, correct? Because next year is the Club World Cup. And what have you. I want to talk about my favorite league on earth, El Trafico, Ricky Puig. All the criticism that there's no passion or the passion's fake in MLS, you couldn't tell from this particular game. LAFC goes up 2-0, complete domination of the first half, and boy, does Galaxy dig in. They end up winning 4-2, mostly because of the red card from O'Brien at the end. This game had absolutely everything, including a very angry Ricky Puig, who at one point actually got in Giroud's face. Ricky's smiles all the time. Man, they wanted it. And, I don't know what time. I'm trying to think. This one wasn't in the Rose Bowl because they make that a kind of a July, 4th of July thing in the States. Now they're trying to promote it. But, what a great representative of the game. This game meant something, too. They have identical records. They're fighting for a spot. They'll probably both finish up top four, which gives you a huge advantage in the playoffs. But man, what a game! I don't want to ask the question what does this do for MLS soccer? I think I want to ask a different question, Nick. I mean, as far as entertainment product, because and this is where it's difficult. You got guys that watch the Italian league, got guys that watch the Belgian league over here, and they check out, or even Portugal. They got the Benficas. Should Europeans be giving MLS a little more of a chance, you think? Because I think it's a pretty good football product. It's certainly not the best football in the world. I would never say that. I think the best the Americans could ever hope to be is one of the great development leagues. If not, I think that should be the goal, to be the best development league in the world. I think that would actually help to grow the sport exponentially. Should Europeans be paying more attention to what's going on, regardless of the system? Because you really get to see some top flight stuff, especially from Ricky Puig, who probably doesn't belong there.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Would be my answer. Yes, in the fact that everyone completely overlooks it because, it's the MLS, it's the American League, it's the retirement league, it's obviously the narrative around it.
Sure.
But watching some of it with you and when you've been showing off the highlights and stuff like that, it certainly can be exciting. There's people like Ricky Puig, ridiculous that he's still in that league,
know.
by the way. But like Giroud had a shot in that game which didn't quite go and hit the post, but it was an absolute strike. And it's like he's still got that quality there. You get other players who go to that league, like Carlos Vela, who was doing really well in the past. Denny Bouanga stepping up. You know, there is certainly exciting players there and exciting football to watch. But I say no in the fact that the times of it, like how, like it's just so inconvenient to watch that it's like, it's exciting, but how are people supposed to keep up with the league that they can't actively be watching all the time because the time difference is just such a pain?
There are a few European MLS fan channels, and I think they do what I do. They go to bed at a normal hour, and Sunday morning, you wake up and watch a game. Pick your team. Maybe you have a connection. Maybe you got a relative in Philadelphia or Los Angeles or something like that. Or you can maybe watch the big games, and you can always watch Messi in the morning. That's not the worst thing. That would be my suggestion. I will give Sky News. They usually put the table out there and they let people know what's going on. So it's not because of lack of effort. But I just for the hardcore, and if you're watching this cast, for the hardcore football fan, there's definitely something there. And the average MLS player is much better than they were under the Beckham era. And I think 10 years from now, you're going to see the average go up. The average go up after Messi leaves, because I think that's the kind of impact it has. We got Pele, we got a league, right? From Pele, that's where the influence. We got Beckham, we got the better average player. Now we got Messi, and I think that just brings in more interest. And I think instead of trying to compete with the Premier League, which is ridiculous because you don't have the money to do it, compete with Belgium, compete with Portugal, compete with the development leagues over here, which are quite good and really fun to watch. I highly recommend the Belgium league too. Orson, what's your feeling on this particular game and MLS in general?
I thought the highlights I saw were brilliant. Ricky Pucci, he's some player. How old is he? 26?
26, 27, somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, one of the success stories where he should be playing in Europe, but he's decided to play in the MLS, and it's only made the league better. I'm more optimistic than Nick. I'm more of an optimistic kind of guy.
Well, I mean, in fairness to Nick, he's talking about he hasn't put the league down. He's not just shut it out. He's saying this is very difficult for time reasons. But I think maybe getting over the stereotype that it's just a retirement league, rather it's a development league with former superstars. First of all, they're coming over. This is not a Lothar Matthäus when he's 40 situation going to Metro Stars. You're getting guys. I'm sorry, Messi can still play over here. And Giroud carried AC Milan last year. So we're not getting guys that are absolutely nothing left anymore. We're getting guys that still have something to give and something to show. But go ahead.
I think it's. I think the time difference is a big.
Sure,
hurdle,
it's the biggest, and it can't be overcome.
It can't be overcome, but that's not saying. I mean, there's still a stereotype about the MLS that it is a retirement league.
Sure.
There was even a comment made by a broadcaster over here during a football match saying, "Oh, well, they went to the MLS, so their career is nigh and over," which I didn't agree with at all. I think it's a good league. It's a strong league. Some of the best football matches I've ever seen was watching with you, Tom.
Yeah, I know. It was just funny. For excitement. When people hear that, they're going to be like, it couldn't be bad. No, it's excitement. It's not necessarily the best play, but it's definitely not piss poor. And back in '96, I went to those games. They were piss poor. They weren't that great during Beckham. The Galaxy was the only side that could hold a chance against the European side. That's not the case anymore. So if it's something you wanted to do or give a chance, and Will, he's the European, he's the Scotsman. He likes the fireworks and the cheerleaders and stuff like that, and people like that, and for an entertainment. And that's not why to watch it. It's just kind of the icing on top of the cake there. So I don't know. I like it. I'm a big fan. Of course, I'm a big Patriot too. So I wish the best. And I'm glad Ricky Puig wants to be a big fish in the small pond. As far as his age is concerned, he's probably the best player we've ever had, besides a 30-year-old Messi.
He looks like his mother cut his hair. I mean, he's the most schoolboy looking player.
Yeah, I know. He's
I've ever
dangerous.
seen.
Remember,
when he went
Barcelona
up-
wanted to use this guy to replace Messi at one point, and then I guess he fell out with the manager, right, Nick?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was playing a lot under Spanish guy who got smashed by Bayern. I forget his name. And looked really exciting. But yeah, Ronald Koeman came in and basically said, I don't like him. And then he refused to go out on loan because he wanted to stay and fight for his position. But he never really stood a chance because the whole reason he wasn't playing was because Ronald Koeman didn't like him anyway.
Yeah.
And so he basically just wasted 2 years of his career trying to get into a team that the manager had no interest in putting him in. And then, yeah, obviously went to MLS and has been living it up since.
Yeah, he really likes being. There is a big fish in a small pond act. But if you watch this game, and I hear the word fake passion a lot, because it looks strange. The league looks strange. The traditions are changed. The chants are American, so it's a little weird, fight and win. But you could tell, especially with getting in the face of Giroud, you could see the two things. Like Ricky Puig is like, I know you might be here to retire, but I'm here to win. And I think if you have that kind of stuff, and I think it kind of let Giroud know, there's guys that the MLS Cup means something to them. Just because you go and you're a great player in Europe, and it doesn't mean you're going to hold the cup over your head. I could give you a list of guys that didn't win, including Zidane, that did not win championship. Did he? Wait a minute. He didn't win a championship for Galaxy, did he?
Don't
Might have won
believe
the
he
league.
did in the
I don't
end.
think there's a lot of guys come
I
over
don't
here
think
to
he won
walk
the
away without
championship.
silverware. It's not as easy as you think. No, there's a lot more teams in the league than.
Oh, some goal, by the way, by Ricky Puig that he got.
Yeah, it's all he
last
hooked it
night.
in. It looked like nothing, but you realize, and he beat a first class goalie too.
Top quality goal.
Yeah,
What a goal. I mean, the bend to get that back in around the other side of the post was unreal.
Yeah, and he did
pace of it, yeah.
the ole. He was the bullfighter, which I think is super cool. So
Yeah.
that's all right. This is from a couple days ago. Of course, Victor Osimhen, he went to Galatasaray, correct? Is that right? All right. One of my favorite human beings on earth, Jose Mourinho. He's a fantastic player, but I don't like the way he behaves. He dives too much. I can't believe he would say that. But anyway, I told him, you and Mo Salah are the best African players in the past. It was Dieter Drogba, Samuel Eto'o, George Weah. You cannot behave like this. He dives too much. I don't think it's just diving that is his problem, but I'm glad, just for different reasons and my feelings about diving, that he brought this up. What's Osimhen's real problem? If is Jose Mourinho correct, Nick?
I feel like Jose Mourinho might be playing it up a bit because he's Fenerbahce coach, and so Galatasaray's their big rival. So obviously he's going to stoke that fire.
Oh, so you think this is all about? Making the match big?
He might dive a bit, sure, but yeah, I think this is more just Mourinho doing Mourinho things. Oh yeah, the big name striker from the rival team. I'm gonna call him out and call him names. Get the Fenerbahce fans behind him, absolutely loving it, and sort of, stoking the fire of the rivalry a bit there. But maybe he's on to something. Who knows?
All right. Well, Mr. Wellies, where are you on this particular issue?
Josie can't do anything wrong in my eyes, so he's probably right. Maybe the guy dives way too much, I mean, maybe he's such a bad diver that he just can't deal with it. But I think Nick's right. I think it's because he's the coach to a rival team now, so that's kind of stoked the fires a lot. And if there's one thing Jose is good at, is mind games. He likes to get in people's heads.
No doubt about it. He still wants to win. I still think he's a great coach, and I hope he's around forever because I find him entertaining as hell. Back to MLS. Messi back with playing Philadelphia Union, who's having a bad season, but they had a really good run in the Leagues Cup, and they were playing a lot better. Came off and beat New York Red Bulls, which is one of the upper tier teams in the East. They came back to earth. Messi with an injury that started to look serious. There was reports there was no way he was playing in this game. He shows up, gets a brace. Like this is sick. Is anybody stopping Inter Miami? I mean, look, the playoffs it's not like when they look like they just got to keep it up. They'll have the league wrapped up pretty soon. As far as the playoffs, a little tougher to predict. Bradley Wright said that he really thinks it's more of a challenge to win MLS as a league. He was more proud of that than getting than he thinks he would have been had he won an MLS Cup. Can anybody stop this team in the playoffs? Nick? It's a tough one because there's good teams. There's teams that add up that have beat them. I mean, what do you think?
I think if they're all fit, no.
Oh, really?
Because, Suarez finishes every chance he gets.
Yeah.
Messi is just still Lionel Messi.
Mm.
And the rest of the team seems to be really improved and quite good now for Inter Miami. So it really knowing how clutch Messi is, how clutch Suarez has been in the past in his career, these are the guys that if it's a tough playoff game against someone, surely Messi's just going to take the ball and make something happen and push them through. But if I was to say someone will upset them, I do really like the look of LA Galaxy with how Ricky Puig is playing. They've got Marco Reus, who's had a good start, joining the side, and they're doing really well themselves. So maybe them, but yeah, I think
they would probably.
It's hard to see someone shut Messi up in a game where he needs to win.
I think the real thing with and I do watch. I'm a little bit advantaged because I watch MLS more than anybody, but I can't say his name correctly. He's a Croatian player, Janovic. He's the guy that is really put because Galaxy. This is fundamentally the same team since in past years that haven't done well, but this guy has really added something. He's really connected with Puig well. I mean, I could see that be a final, but can Galaxy get past in a playoff situation with LA? A lot, a game like that would be one and done. That's what it comes down to. But I got to be personally honest. I'm going to pass it to Orson. I don't see anybody beating this team. And the reason I don't see anybody beating this team is because Messi's gone and Suarez is gone. They go to their bench and they find ways to win. And even if you look at a guy that really helped them win the Leagues Cup, like Taylor, he's not even a part of this team as much as he used to be. They've already sort of replaced him. This is a much different team than the one that won the Leagues Cup, and a team that can deal with an injury and win. I think that says a lot about their character. Orson, who's beaten Inter Miami?
The likes of LA Galaxy and Ricky Puig. That's
really? You like that?
Yeah. I think that could happen. I mean, that's the one thing. That's the one thing about the MLS is the playoff system is just you don't know what's going to happen. It just showed Nottingham Forest beating Liverpool. That was never on the cards.
That's
you can
true.
just take one tough match to knock out Miami. But I tell you, a year makes a lot of difference with Miami because they were the worst team in the MLS before the Leagues Cup last year.
Yeah.
They couldn't win to save their lives.
And then Barcelona replaced them. So
they just got Barcelona to come in and do the job. But no, and I think it'd be great to see Miami win the MLS.
Yeah, I think it'd be good for the league too. I'm absolutely sure the upper office are praying that. I mean, the amount of press that it got. Leagues Cup got a lot of press. And it was a good tournament this year, but it wasn't what it was last year. And but for them to bring a spotlight to that particular tournament would be spectacular. A big move by Man United. The signing of Delight. That's true though. He did. I know that's obviously Harry Maguire, but Delight did move to United, correct? Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, Delight did. Oh, how do you feel about that? Of course, they just took a beat from Liverpool. I think they won yesterday. How much of an impact? Because the delay was excellent for Bayern. What do you think, Nick?
I think that meme was very accurate, to be fair. They've made him out to be like the new Maguire, and he scored a big goal to beat Southampton and commanded them to a clean sheet. So he's exactly like Harry Maguire, if you ask me. So. But he's a really, really frustrating player.
Really?
Because when he broke out at Ajax, he looked like the next best defensive player in the world. He was 19, captaining them to a semi-final in the Champions League. Rock solid, fantastic player. he sort of had a rocky time at Juventus. At Bayern, again, it's sort of like he's inconsistent at the back, where sometimes you see that player that was coming through at Ajax, and sometimes has some blunders, which is like, oh my God, this guy, what the hell has he just done? And he did that for the Netherlands in the international break that's just gone. Again, he had absolute blunders and then comes out, has a solid defensive performance, clean sheet, scores a goal, wins the game with United in the league. So he's just one of those really frustrating players where you can see every few games that he's a hell of a defender, but the blunders are there, and United love blunders, so there is a chance that he ends up flopping and being just another one of those players who comes in with promise but ends up being a disaster, like all United signings seem to be.
You know, one of the things that Delight can do that Harry Maguire can't, he moves the ball quite well, and he can make difficult passes. Do you think it's so much the blunders as much as he's more of a gambler coming out of his own end? Because I like Delight, and he's a commanding force right there, and he can set up plays, especially when your team's set up deep and he's up top. He can find the midfielder who finds the forward. But I think, maybe I'm wrong, you can correct me, sometimes if that doesn't work, you can be punished in transition really easily. But I just can't see him as anything. I thought he was underrated over at Bayern, and I don't know how that's going to fit in with Ten Hag. I don't have a lot of faith in United in general, but I just think this is and he's much quicker than he's quite agile, and he's much quicker than Maguire. So I tend to think that this is a good. Well, obviously, I don't think it's a bad move, but I think he'll have more of an impact than we all think, and I think he'd be quite a good player. Do you feel differently, Orson, about Delight?
No, I think he's a good player. I think being back with Ten Hag will only do him the world of good, because it was under Ten Hag that, wasn't it, Nick? I'm just making sure of that.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, it was Ten Hag in charge when they made the semi. Yeah,
when they made the semi-finals with Ajax. So having him back, having Ten Hag back as a coach can only do you wonders on the pitch. I watched the game yesterday against Southampton. Southampton were lucky not to go 1-0 up. They penalty saved. Onana saved the penalty, and then United, De Ligt scored out of nowhere. Came up with a header, a really good header.
Yeah,
that Ramsdale all ends up, and then Rashford scored, and you're thinking, oh my God, it's starting to click now for United. So it'd be curious to see how they get on the next few matches. But if the list keeps going the way he did against Southampton, he'll be a solid player.
Okay. That's all I got. We've got more. I wouldn't even call it a meme. You got to check this up. Let's take a look. I don't know why anybody's saying that this guy's not. Yeah, he might not. He's heavy foot. Sometimes got a heavy touch. Not the greatest playmaker, but I mean, look at this. 24 years old for both Messi and Erling Haaland. Less appearances. Jesus, 50 more goals, more than 50 more goals. Obviously, a lot more assists from Messi. He's a superior passer, and hat tricks. And then if you flip this right here, if he scores again, Haaland, he will have passed Cristiano Ronaldo for the shortest guys to 100. Obviously, he's a little closer with Ronaldo with assists. Why do people in Europe look for? We saw it in the Bundesliga. We saw it when they came to the Premier Leagues. Why is it, Nick, that people look for excuses for this guy not being as great as he appears to be? He does nothing but add. He takes a lot of hits for not being a playmaker, but I get the feeling that's because Pep wants him doing exactly what he's doing. What is it with this kid? That there are still a lot of negative feelings about this guy. I feel like if it's anybody else, we'd be like saying he's second coming of Christ. What's going on in Europe?
I think you're wrong when you say if it was anyone else, it'd be the second coming of Christ. I think that's how people were treating Haaland a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And then
When he was undeniable, when he's the
I
hottest
think
player in the world. Yeah, but he
that's
does
what I mean.
cool.
I think the same thing would happen for anyone. As soon as you get really good, you're going to get a lot of haters because people don't like to be the mainstream. Oh, like heaping praise on someone who's unbelievably good all the time. But to answer the other part, I think the reason people try and find these excuses to play him down is because, yeah, I agree with you that I think it is more Pep asking him to stay up there and not so much play make than it is he's physically incapable of doing it. I agree with that. But you got to think of it like if you're watching a game, like let's say City are struggling. They're struggling to find goals. They're not really creating a lot of chances. And he's just stood up there. He's not getting the ball. He's doing absolutely nothing in the game.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily his fault because obviously he's doing what Pep's telling him to do. He's fulfilling his role. And if he does get that chance, he's going to finish it. But if you're watching, it's going to be more frustrating. You're going to think, what, he's done literally nothing. Like, this is why he's not as good as he is, because he's done nothing in this game when they're struggling. When, I think it is because, he's doing his role, which then also makes him look a lot worse when he's not getting the ball, when they're struggling. And so that then creates this narrative that people like to push more, which is, he does nothing when his team's struggling, which, isn't necessarily his fault.
Yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. Now, I don't think I'm being biased here. I'm not. Erling, guys that sit and wait for the ball are not my favorite types of players. I like strikers like Harry Kane. I like the people that stay active. I'm more of a Messi guy than a Ronaldo. I like number 10s. They're the heart of the team, if you ask me. But I also do realize you need guys like Ronaldo. You need guys like him, and nobody's better. And I just don't feel like he's getting the credit across the board. Maybe the Messi Ronaldo argument kind of got shut down. Maybe if he's a big goal in a big game, we'll see more of that. But also, I'm going to pose this to you, Orson, is a lot of the problem with the big, you have these teams preparing so hard to deal with a weapon like Erling Haaland, the whole team, and then, he doesn't score. Yeah, he's completely shut down because they're double teaming and the entire defense is rigged to keep him silent. I think it's a testament to how good he is as far as a striker, which I think he might be the best striker in the world this year, at least thus far. Well, I don't know. What are your feelings on that, Orson?
He's just a cheat code, isn't he? It's like somebody dialed in a cheat code on his back. It's like playing FIFA and getting a player and maxing all his abilities to 100.
Yeah.
And having them play in League Two. I mean, it's just ridiculous what he can do. But there is ways to stop him. Him.
Sure.
I think,
through coaching. It doesn't even seem to be through coaching, and there seems to be a way to stop him. I don't know if anybody can stop him one-on-one.
Well, no, Nick's right. Pep's role for Ireland is to stay up front and to be a finisher. That's his role. That's his job. That's what he has to do. So he has to be in the 6-yard box when the ball comes in, and he just finishes. Some goals. I don't know. Confidence is a great thing to have as a player. He got one goal against West Ham. It was a bullet. The keeper didn't have a chance, and that was because he was high in confidence. Plus, he didn't play in the Euros this summer.
No, he doesn't. You don't have to really worry about that being from Norway.
Apparently, he was chopping wood at his father's house. His father kept him busy, being a Premier League player himself. His father kept him busy by having him chop wood, and he just came back an absolute animal. He does disappear in big games. I noticed that.
I think that's a fair criticism, but you know what? I think I would be more of a fair criticism is like, well, he's not going to do shit in the Bundesliga, and then he basically runs it. He's not going to do. I mean, the behavior of some English commentators about him coming to the Premier League was just ridiculous. Like he couldn't play in the Premier League. What are you, nuts? And now it's just like we're looking for things where he's not good, rather than looking at things like this. And start to say, well, this guy, all right, things could change. People get hurt. He's starting to look like one of the greatest of all time. I'm more in love with the number 10s. He's not one of them. Who wouldn't take this guy on his team? He's certainly a great elite world-class player, that we're going to have for many years to come. And maybe actually, if he keeps it up, if he's able to keep it up, which I wonder, big guys, all that weight running around, potential injuries, I think that might slow him down. If he keeps it up, I think we all got to agree he could be in the GOAT conversation, or at least top 10 if he keeps it up. Am I wrong? Am I out of my mind here? Top 10 if he's able to keep this pace?
Yeah, I think Ballon d'Or winner.
He probably should have won it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Or the last one, I should say.
He should win the Ballon d'Or now this year, the next year.
No, I hope he does. I actually hope.
Well,
No, we're, all right.
I think as far as top 10 quickly goes, it depends on what you classify as, like, what your requirements are for something like that.
Yeah.
For me personally, I would struggle to justify putting someone like that in a GOAT debate who is just the finisher.
Okay.
If he moves to a team where he has a lot more of an involved role, then yeah, maybe different. But
what if he has the same role and he has more goals than any human being on Earth? Because if you just take the last 2-3 years, he does. If he has the end of his career, he's got more goals than everybody. He's got much more than Messi, much more than Ronaldo. How do you not put him in that debate? And that's assuming everything goes like it's going now.
Because you will always have those games where if the team's struggling to create chances, Haaland is not touching the ball and he's doing nothing in them. And that's where someone like Messi will take over the game and win you it. Okay. Cruyff will take over the game, win it for you. Cristiano Ronaldo did it time and again in the Champions League for Real Madrid. He would just go get the ball, run through the team, score a goal because his team needed him to do it. And Erling Haaland does not do that. And I think it's similar where anyone who follows NBA, he would be like the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, where
Shaq.
Kareem or Shaq, Kareem is like the high scorer.
I have to disagree with you because Kareem wasn't limited; he could shoot. All right, Shaq couldn't shooting power. Yeah. I mean, in the fact that a lot of it's MJ versus LeBron for the GOAT debate these days. It's not Kareem anymore. No.
And the reason, even though Kareem has scored more points, well, not anymore. LeBron's just overtaken him. But for ages, he was the top scorer, and yet he wasn't the GOAT. It was like Michael Jordan. And I think it's a similar thing where it would be with Haaland. If he did get the most goals, he still wouldn't be he wouldn't have the complete player aspect of him that would drag him up into that. And but then again, like I say, it comes down to what you qualify for your top players. That's for me, that would always hold him back. But for others, the fact that goals win games and he scores more than anyone could be a good enough argument for someone else.
Sure. I think the problem with Wayne, I think I'm more irritated with the fact that the people are actively looking for problems despite his production, and I don't think that's fair. I think your argument is fine. Normally I'd be on your side, but I just maybe it's because I don't find him to have an attitude like Ronaldo. He's not a selfish player. I don't get that impression at all. That he's selfish and I think I also get the feeling he's a lot more coachable. I think if for some reason Pep told him to change it up, he would, and I don't know if he couldn't execute it. This guy's the master of being told he can't, and then he does. So I guess we'll move it on from there. This might as well say, as the CBS Sports confirmed that Thierry Henry will continue his role as analyst and for this season's Champions League matches on the show hosted by Kate Abdo, who also just recently got married to her longtime partner. Congratulations, Kate Abdo. Definitely one of the top interviewers in all of sports, not just football. I really enjoy her work, but this might as well say he can get a coaching job. Wait a minute, who won the Olympic gold this year? I'm trying to think.
Not him.
Spain. Not him. No.
Yeah,
Spain. Obviously.
Yeah. Spain. Yeah, Spain. Yeah, they win everything. Yeah, that's right. Is this it for Thierry? I'll go to Orson. I'll let you open this one. Is this it for coaching? I've always had this thing where, in Zlatan kind of suggests, gifted players don't always make great coaches. Certainly he's a leader, but I just, I've heard these stories that Nick's told me that he would tell his players to do stuff and they just couldn't get it or couldn't physically do it because they weren't Thierry Henry, and he just doesn't understand that.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Like, exactly, so is this it? Are we done with the whole Thierry? I know the United States was floating hiring him. I'm certainly glad they didn't. I'm sick of hiring good players and not great coaches. I think we got that with Pochettino. Is this it? Are we done with the coaching thing? I mean, he's certainly great behind the booth.
Well, he's good at basketball after what he did to Ireland that time, handling the ball a bit.
That's why I opened it with him.
Yeah. But, as an Arsenal fan, he's a legend. He's everybody's hero.
That must have been weird for you when he scored. Like, where were you when that happened? Like,
I was in a pub watching, and my mouth just dropped. I was like, "What are you doing?" And then, of course, it was a goal.
I don't think it wasn't hand of God. It was more reactive.
Yeah, he handled it about 3 times. It was basketball. Like, he handled it with his hand.
I blame the refs. You guys blame I don't understand why you guys don't blame Thierry Henry, because, I know the Irishman. Yeah, you're part Irish. You should have. I was like, he got away with it. The refs suck. This is the reason we have VAR. I mean, I can't get mad at Thierry Henry. And by the way, he went to the Red Bulls like a month later. So, no, I just don't understand why the Irish get so upset with him on that, because it wasn't him. It was the refs dropped the ball. He handled it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But there's always a job for him in basketball if he wants it. But let him do his whatever it is he wants to do, his analysis. Let him be on the telly. He's good on the telly.
He's great on the telly.
I just so let him be on the telly and let him do his thing.
Nick, is he done? Is he done? You think the community's lost faith in him?
He should be done. The reason he got that, he got the under-20s job, or whatever it was, which meant he did the Olympics. That feels like it was purely just like we'll get a popular figurehead in rather than an actual coach thing, which is, teams like that often do things like that. You looked at a few of the other coaches, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there were a couple others where they were like bigger name players but not necessarily coaches. And so to me it felt like he only did that as like this would be a cool thing, rather than he saw it as an actual step for like a coaching career. I think his intentions were always to come back to this afterwards. It was just like a cool thing to do for the summer because they asked him to do it, sort of thing.
Why don't coaches start in the third league and work their way up? Why is it, especially a guy like Thierry Henry, is it just ego? Because I honestly believe if a lot of these more gifted players wanted to be effective coaches, they would go right down to the area of kind of grinding or earning your way in. Is it just ego? Why don't they do that? Why is Wayne Rooney starting in the championship? Why doesn't he go to League 1 or 2?
Because why not? If I said to you right now, you can be Plymouth Argyle manager or you can be Real Madrid manager, it's your first job, what are you going to go with?
Plymouth Argyle, because I want to be able to stay in this game. No, I want to stay in this game.
Not a chance.
I have. If I sucked, I'd take. You know what? I'll tell you what. If I didn't believe in my own abilities, I'd take Real Madrid. I honestly believe, because that's the way I see the game. If I'm just a regular dope, yeah. But if I actually believe if I actually believe what I say I believe, then I take Argyle. No, I really.
If you believe in your abilities, then you're going to succeed at Real Madrid, are you not? It doesn't matter that you're new. If you believe in yourself, you're going to be good enough.
Yeah, but I probably have some kind of false sense of belief. I don't know. I'm an introspective person, and like, why would I be so arrogant to believe that this doesn't work for like, let's assume I was, as good as Thierry Henry, right? No. Because if you notice, like Jurgen Klopp and some of these guys, they're grinders. I mean, God, Moreno never played professional football, as far as I know. So I think it's just two different games. And just because you're good at one doesn't mean you got to be great at the other. And there's a lot more luck with being a coach. It could be a bounce, it could be a good player. You could be at the mercy of a great player. I think in principle, I start grinding my way up. And I tell you who else feels the same way I do is Latan. I'm pretty sure he could get a job right out the gate right now, but he hasn't taken one. And he's actually made a few noises to the fact that maybe it's not for him. That he said, what did he say?
Yeah,
last week, he said he punched the players and ate after the game was over.
Players. Yeah.
I think he would. You can't
Yeah.
do that. And maybe.
He knows karate. He'd probably give him a few roundhouse kicks as well. Like just to top it off. I don't know why managers do what they do. I don't know why players think that they can suddenly become a manager and slot right into the role. It is obvious that the better managers are the ones who weren't great players.
Yeah.
Jurgen Klopp,
But they learned how to stay professional. And how do you do that? You learn how to win. You learn how to win with that. I don't know. You do what that coach did down in Forrest. You grind your way to it. And I just don't understand why. You have to. I get this feeling too with just football, especially in Europe. Everything's when they pick players and it's so stat oriented and not scout oriented, where they look at these guys and say, "Oh, well, he was a top scorer in the second Bundesliga. Let's bring him up." Right? Rather than why was he the top scorer did he have a maybe you should take the De Bruyne like guy that was passing to him to put it in the net. I just feel like they don't have scouts evaluate the talent like maybe they do in other sports. Can this guy handle this level at our club rather than just look at his stats. And I think there's a lot of that. I don't know. That's the way I feel about it. Oh boy, never thought I'd bring this up. Former manager Gareth Southgate says his next job could be outside the football. How do you feel, Nick?
I feel like that is a man who is as introspective as you. He fucking knows that. And so instead of sullying his record, he's just like, yeah, I'm not going to waste my time going and being a failure somewhere else.
Well, my problem is...
Rest on my laurels.
My problem with Gareth Southgate is he didn't seem like... Look, there's two problems. Southgate did better than just about every English coach, and definitely in my lifetime. But I always got the feeling that, he was shoehorning all-star teams rather than, this goes back to the scouting and not just the numbers guys. And I think he was definitely one of them. He just he's playing well for Chelsea, bring him up. And not really thinking about what that meant, which I think is coaching ability, definitely scouting ability. And I get the feeling that he just kind of kissed his. I think there's a lot of this especially in the second Bundesliga, and this politics to get you the job rather than actual ability and results. And he really didn't have much of that going in. And then he had the golden generation, and what a shock, England didn't win, and they probably should have won something in the past 10 years. Orson, I think you're fit to judge the Brits. Go ahead.
Talk about an overachiever. I mean, this guy could walk into I suppose any job, and do the bare minimum and get results.
I should have asked you if Roy Keane kicked him hard enough. That might have been a better question.
Roy Keane kicked him any harder, he'd probably be a better player.
Did you see that video of them asking Keane about all his red cards? He got one from Gareth Southgate, if people don't know what I'm referencing. And he was like, he said he only got 3 or 4, and it turned out he had 7 or 8. And and they asked him about, well, what about Gareth? How many did you deserve? Because I didn't deserve all of them. And he said, what about Gareth Southgate? Oh, no, that guy deserved it. That's it. I don't think Garrett's a bad guy. I think he's good in the boardroom, and there was talk of him coming to the States. Boy, did I not want that. God, it is really, it just shows you how much USA Soccer, the FA, and the people that are in charge of it aren't football people; they're corporate types. And I think Gareth Southgate is the perfect example of that.
I tell you what, though, that just goes to show exactly what people said about him. Everyone said he was a coward on the football pitch. The fact that instead of taking a challenge in a football managerial role to prove himself on a club level, he's a coward and he's stepping away from it because he knows that he doesn't have the ability to succeed. And so he's dodging it.
Well, now he can
instead of sullying his reputation with a failure at a club, he's whimpering away.
Yeah, so it kind of looks like, I wonder if that has something to do with it, because now he goes down as one of the better English coaches of all time. Didn't win anything, but nobody else did too. Whereas if he goes to a club and got, his ass handed to him, he sucked all along, and all the fans were right. Interesting.
Yeah. Look at Chris Coleman, the Wales manager. He took Wales to a semi-final in the Euros. He did this fantastic job, and since then he's taken over at clubs like Sunderland. Failed. He's managing in like League Two, I think now. Like his career's gone to absolute shit, and not a single person remembers the manager that took Wales to the semi-finals of the Euros because he's an absolute failure at club level.
Ooh,
There you go.
rough.
There you go.
Rough. I always
Yeah.
wanted this every year. It's that time of year. You got Kevin De Bruyne looking at his pace, only at 67. He says, "I'd eat Bernardo in a race." Why do you think the players, and they do, I think it's been established. Do you agree with this, Orson? They care about that stupid card every year, which is probably so hopelessly
yeah.
inaccurate. Why?
They all play EA 24, 25, EAFC, whatever they call it now. I still call it FIFA.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I can't, it's like calling X Twitter. I just can't change my ways. You know?
You're Irish.
I'll
Of
always call it
course.
FIFA,
Of
yeah.
course. It's like that scene in Darby O'Gill and the Little People. Hey, you want the Stradivarius? I like me own fiddle. So, what a shock. But go ahead.
Dad, I mean, of course they care about their little precious golden card because millions of kids play the game and they want to show they got good stats, because they want to be picked in these teams. And,
Bragged in the locker room. My God, he's still a 90. He's pitching about being a 90. I saw it was a Kylian Mbappe last year. He didn't like his defensive rating, right? And he says, he goes, I know I'm not a defensive, I forget what number. I don't think it was 50, but I'm just going to throw that number out there. I guess, look, I know I'm not a great defensive player by any stretch. I'm not expected to be, but a 50? And you could tell he was pissed off. He said it in English. I understood the inflection in his voice. I knew what he was saying. He didn't like that shit at all. It's just amazing to me. Here's what I think, and this is probably why because I guess I'm not that hungry. I could care less if I was a pro. Oh, really? Oh, sorry. You really disappointed my son. Who cares? But
I think it's a locker room thing. I think it's like banter, Look at my stats compared to your stats, kind of thing.
Nick, what's your opinion on this, Soccer? Sorry, I cut you off.
It's ego. If you're a footballer at the top level, you've got an ego, no matter who you are.
Yeah, it's true.
You gotta have an ego to get to that point. And so, this is the biggest football game in the world. If they're misrepresenting your stats, you're not gonna have that shit.
No, I guess so. That's really what it comes down to, and that's what makes those guys so great, though. I heard that in the Bulls locker room, like Michael Jordan would bet over it might be a sign of degeneracy and a gambling problem, but they said they bet over coin flips. That's just how crazy competitive they are. I heard stuff like that about George Best as well. Let's get to the controversy. Pep Guardiola on the 115 charges. He says everybody is innocent until guilt is proven. We will see. I'm not a lawyer. There are many lawyers in this country and in Spain. I'm happy it's starting Monday. I imagine he wants to get it out of the way. I know that people are looking forward to what they expect. Nick, what do you expect happens to City?
I expect them to get off with a lenient sentence and everyone to be outraged. And
I do.
I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest because City have infinite money. They have the biggest lawyers in the world. They can afford to hang this out as long as possible. The system's broken.
Yeah,
if you're as rich as they are, they're basically funded by a nation here.
It is time to change the rules. It's the system's
even though
broken.
We all know they've broken these rules. We all know they should get a harsh sentence for what they've done. And deep down, we all know it's not going to happen because City have too much money and he is way too chipper for a man that knows that they're fucked. It's because he's a man who knows. He's heard from the higher-ups and the lawyers or whatever. Yeah, we're getting off light on this shit.
Orson. I have a solution to this problem. I think we should continue to take points away from Everton and Forrest. Do you think that's a good system and let them off light? What is your take on this?
Oh, it's rules for thee, but not for me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. 115 breaches, and these aren't alleged breaches. These are actual breaches that Man City have exercised. And the reason why they didn't get banned from Europe was because of their solicitors, and UEFA couldn't afford to fight them. Was that it? They couldn't afford.
That's what people say. Yeah.
I don't think it's fair that Everton should get such a heavy punishment.
Me too.
And City waltz around and not get any punishment. They should get a points deduction. I don't think they should be relegated into. It won't happen anyway.
15 charges. I bet Forrest and Everton didn't have 115 charges, did they?
They had about 5, I think, between
not
them.
That many,
5, and they lost points. 115. That should be relegation.
Points deduction. You know, points deduction. I don't want to see them stripped of their titles either.
No, I don't think I want to see that. They allowed it. They keep giving these guys soft. I don't see there's any reason to strip the titles. I'm not saying I want this, boys, and I don't even want to hear this. We have a situation where clubs are more powerful than the FA themselves. We do not have that problem in the United States for one reason only. They are not clubs. They are franchises. This would not be the case if we had franchises or something. I mean, the FA has to be, if you want to continue the integrity of the games and you want teams to switch from year to year as far as champions, you cannot have this. They must do something. If anything, probably, hate to say it, I'm not the first person, government's got to get involved. Government's got to get involved. Probably European government, the English government. It's got to be maybe like we have in the States, separate rules for separate legal business rules and practices for clubs and leagues than we do for regular businesses, even though it is a regular business. To compete the competitiveness of the game, the United States has I forget what it's called, but there are things that the teams are not. They're not law. There's laws that they don't have to face your average corporation would do, and it's all designed to keep the leagues competitive. I don't see it happening any other way, and I also because you're not just dealing with one government, you're dealing with governments and European governments, which are so yeah, and if you don't do something, they're going to win every year. It's just that bottom line, or at least you know what? At least stop punishing the bottom teams for trying to stay in the league. You know, let's listen to Pep real quick.
He's right.
Do you think that's correct, Nick? Do you think he's got a point?
No, for the fact they've played with the Premier League teams and want to be sanctioned, that's for sure. I'm agree with Tebas for the first time. Hopefully the last. I'm pretty sure I'm agree with that. So that's why I said Mr. Tebas and the Premier League teams wait. No independent panel, so you know that the justice is there in the modern democratic countries. So yeah, wait the decision. It's not much complicated than that. So, but I don't know if he's lawyer or all the Premier League teams are lawyers. So what I ask is wait. It happened in the UEFA and every time. So we something wrong. We believe we have anything wrong. So we go to independent panel, and we are going to wait. Maybe he's right.
Do you think that's correct?
Yeah, is that the confidence you're talking about, Nick?
Does that sound like a man who's just been told by the club, yeah, we're looking at like some serious
relegation?
shit.
No, it doesn't.
We're going to get relegated. You know, we're not going to be able to buy players for 3 years.
Yeah.
That is a man who's been told, yeah, like, all right, we're going to get a points deduction or something like that, but it ain't going to be that bad. Like, we'll be back on our feet in a year, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. PSG's world record bid for Lamine Yamal confirmed by agent. What do y'all think? I don't know why Yamal would want to leave Barcelona to begin with, other than the money. I guess my two questions: is it good for Yamal? I think I know the answer to that. Yeah. And is this the right move for PSG? Nick?
Yes, PSG. No, Yamal.
No.
It's a tough one.
It is.
I think he would fit perfectly into what PSG are building.
Mhm.
He's the best young player on the planet right now.
Mhm.
So obviously, it's a good move for anyone, right? If you can get Lamine Yamal, yes, right. But
Mhm.
and it's tough on like Barcelona are a team on the down. I think everyone can sort of see it happening. It's kind of hard to see Barcelona sort of pulling themselves out of this hole they're in. Yeah, they signed Danny Olmo this summer, a really good signing, but then they had loads more issues again trying to register Olmo. It seems to be every single year they're having trouble again and again. How long can they stay competitive at the top with these issues? I'm not sure if they can, which means, all right, maybe leaving Barcelona might be in the interest of Yamal if Barcelona can't sort their shit out. But is PSG that team? If you look at Neymar, no. Neymar left to get out of Messi's shadow so he can win himself a Ballon d'Or, but he sort of ruined Neymar's reputation and his career in the end because Liga is such a lower standard of league compared to the top ones that no one really took Neymar as serious after his move to PSG. And so Lamine Yamal faces that similar issue where if he does go to PSG and he's phenomenal there, it's always going to be played down by the fact that Liga isn't that good. But at the same time, PSG have got a really good project going. They're signing some really good young players, and so there is a chance that with Lamine Yamal and the development of the current young players they have, PSG might have a Champions League winning side there, which would be different to what Neymar had and could be enough to get Yamal the respect and the Ballon d'Or at PSG. But it's a lot of speculation.
Arson. Excuse me. Arson. Burn the place
He's
down.
only a child. Yeah, he's only a child, isn't he? He's only like 17.
17, yeah.
He's probably better off staying in Barcelona
so,
and
too.
playing his trade. He's got all the time in the world.
You do play for money, though. The object of being a professional football player is to collect as much money before it's over. It could be over any day. What do you think after?
That's true.
What do you think after
That's
that?
true. Yeah, I think he should stay at Barcelona.
Yeah,
I mean,
I want to bet Barcelona because Barcelona's a cooler club. PSG.
Barcelona need to get back at being the top in Spain. They need to keep players like Lamine Yamal and reject these bids because they can't. Real Madrid are going to be the best team in Spain for the next 3 years unless Barcelona do something about it now. And Lamine Yamal is a great player, and for he's a child. I mean,
And how good is he going to be at 25? It's frightening.
I know. I'm old enough to be his dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's so young he is.
Yeah.
So I think no, stay at Barcelona. It's great that he's getting these bids, but
It's definitely good for his image. I have a solution to the problem. Make Liga great. Well, it was never great. That's the problem. Make the teams great. You don't have like Marseille and this. You don't have to. You got to build that league. Make it so other teams can challenge PSG. Come up with a new system, a playoffs, something that to make things exciting over there. And if I'm not mistaken, Liga has slipped below the Dutch league in the ratings. I thought I heard that over the summer. It's the league. The league sucks. It's boring, and they have really passionate fans. And it's France. I mean, they win World Cups. They got to do something about that league as far as entertainment's concerned. MLS it up. Get some cheerleaders. I don't know. Make that league worth watching. I'd watch it. I never do. If I do, it's going to be a derby, a Marseille. I didn't. When Messi and Neymar, I never watched it. If they happened to be on at 9 o'clock or so, I'd see the last 10 minutes or so. That was it. Either that or PSG better start winning some Champions League. It's the league. The league sucks. That's the bottom line.
I have a question to pose to the two of you, though.
Sure, go ahead.
So Orson said, but if Barcelona want to get back up to the top, they need to be rejecting bids for players like Lamine Yamal to keep him. But I pose the question, is it better to keep Lamine Yamal and him be a fantastic player for them, or
You got to pay
would
him.
accepting a world record 250 million bid, knowing their financial issues,
Yeah.
would that be better off for the club to take that huge amount of money to try and get them out of their financial issues going forward, or is it better for them to keep Lamine Yamal, knowing how phenomenal a player he can be?
Yeah, I think we all agree
Yeah.
that he probably should stay there for football reasons. But I'll answer that, but I'll throw it to Orson first. What's with that new information? Where do you stand?
Well, I mean, look at the bids to try to get for Messi. You know, they actually priced Messi at such a price that nobody could bid for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you got to look at the fact that he is a top quality player, and I think he should stay. Yeah, I really do. I think he should stay at Barcelona.
From like a club's point of view, is it better from Barcelona's point of view to take the money, knowing their issues, or is it
No.
better for Barcelona to keep him?
Better for Barcelona to keep him. Absolutely.
I'm going to disagree with
100%.
Orson because Barcelona will always have that name no matter what league they're in. I think this, if they ever to be a Barcelona again, the Barcelona we know, the one that doesn't need to even put a sponsor in the front of their jersey, Nick drives a really strong point. Take the money now. Yes, we're losing them, and pay these bills so we can be the team we once were. I know they had a president there that just absolutely ruined the team financially. It's got to be tempting to look at like a $200 million transfer. And especially since, like, we know he's good and he's more than likely going to be great, but you never know. You never know. What you do know is $200 million is $200 million. And
250, I think, as well. Mbappe was 220.
Yeah.
And that said record, so it's going to be more than 220, so even more than that.
Yeah. So, like, short term, are they going to win the league with Lamau? Probably not. That's another way you could look at it. So let's dump him now so we can start beating Real Madrid 10 years from now. You make a really strong point.
It is a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a very good point, Nick. I'm stubborn. Once I say my opinion, I have to stick to it. You know, what kind of person would I be if I went back on my word?
Tottenham's Rodrigo Banneker charged by FA over alleged racist remark. If I'm gonna, I guess, paraphrase what allegedly happened. He was doing an interview. Actually, you did. What did you hear that he said exactly, Nick? I'm not trying to make you say something racist. I just want to know so I get it right.
I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of they asked him something about Son, and he said something about giving it to Son or like his other Korean brothers or something like that because they all look the same.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of all Koreans look the same.
We're looking at anywhere from 6 to 12 game ban for that stupid comment. How do you feel about that, Orson?
Well, you know, I'm not going to try and divulge too much away from football with this, but you know I'm a free speech advocate, don't you?
Yes.
So I don't think I really am.
These guys sign up for behavior clauses and stuff, though. They've locked into this stuff. I'm with you.
I understand.
But he's
that,
somewhat forfeited.
I'm not getting punished.
Yeah.
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 If when you're a free speech enthusiast, you have to be all in with this. But he said a stupid thing.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to be funny. Was he trying to be funny?
It's tough to tell because nobody's seen it and we think it's in Spanish. You know, so it's tough to tell. If he was quite literal, I would have less of a problem with the suspension. If he wasn't, but I have a tough time believing. Maybe I'm being a little look on the bright side. I have a tough time believing that he was being deliberately and willfully hateful with malice. If I had to guess, look, I was in the Army. There's the American Army. There's a lot of different people from a lot of different ethnic backgrounds, and the way that we talk to each other as brothers would be considered cancelable. By the way, not just white guys either, everybody across the board. And that's what we do. I get the feeling that's probably the way they talk in that locker room, and it's all in good fun. But he's got to know that the locker room is the locker room, especially in a politically charged environment. But after what you said, Orson, I don't like the idea. I don't want to stray too much either. But you're seeing people being targeted in the UK for some of the things they say on social media, which is frightening, and it's a lot bigger than football. This doesn't make me feel much better, but it is a different situation where they do sign up for this, and it doesn't make his club look very good. I don't believe.
And I'm an Arsenal fan. Don't forget that.
I know you're being. Yeah, exactly. Well, I think we're being principled. What I'm supposed to do now is say how stupid he was, and then clutch pearls and how bad this is. And I'm supposed to remind you of the year. It's 2024. And say a bunch of virtue signaling garbage like that. But so I'm a little bit.
We're not going to do that.
No, we're not. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it at all. Am I going to say it's a lousy thing to say? Yes, absolutely. But I don't know the situation. I don't know the context. I don't know what's acceptable and unacceptable in Spanish. I do know there's cultural differences. I also know what it's like to be in a locker room. I know what it's like to be in the army, and I know what it's like to be people of different races when you're in a sort of a brotherhood of sorts, and that stuff breaks the ice and keeps everybody kind of on the same level. And I know a lot of people that like cancel culture, and there are out there, do not understand that, but they don't get out much, and they don't usually have great friends. So I think what Son said, that he had zero issue with it. Not that it matters, but he did say that. This is in a situation where he hates his teammate. Correct? Correct, Nick?
I believe so. I think it was a case of Son's come out and said he accepts the apology or whatever, and it's like a water under the bridge sort of thing. He's not kicking up a fuss himself about it.
Yeah.
As such.
Because all Spanish people look the same.
Well, funny you should say that, because the article you've got there, right? I don't know if you want to get it back up on screen.
Sure.
Says it's about Tottenham's Rodrigo Bentancur, right? Yeah. That picture right there, that is another South American player that plays for Tottenham Hotspur, Christian Romero. But in the article about how a guy saying all Koreans look the same, they put the wrong South American guy on the fucking article.
Thank you.
Maybe that's them standing with Bentancur saying, look, it's an easy mistake to make. Who knows?
Oh, God.
That was great.
It's too
funny. Breaking Kylian Mbappe has won the first round of his legal battle. League Hockey Commission has today ordered PSG to pay Kylian his money. What is PSG doing? They got the goddamn president of France. They've gotten everything. They get over it. He didn't want to play for you. Why are they doing this, Nick?
Probably just sour grapes. They gave him a massive contract and he's left. So they're probably looking for any way to get out of paying it.
Because the league sucks. The league sucks. That's why Thierry Henry didn't play over there, because it sucks. They got to do something about league and stop blaming Kylian Mbappe, who's all these football players are going to do what's best for their career. And hey, look, I root for a team that they change the roster pretty heavy, and you lose your stars, and it happens with the big guys too. I just don't see how this helps anybody. It's a waste of money. Orson.
Yeah, there's not much. Yeah, it is a waste of money, really. It is just. There's nothing really I can say about it, to be honest. I'm still reeling from the last thing. From what Nick said. So.
Well, let's go back to bigotry and racism. Real Madrid superstar sabotaging Ballon d'Or chances with on-field controversy. He's not going to go really into this article, but there was a controversial goal that he had recently where he shushed the crowd, as they say over here. My issue with Vinny Jr. is he actively agitates ultras who can be some of the worst people on that category on the planet, cries about bigotry. After he incites, he cries and then complains to the ref, which at some level makes my conspiratorially mind think that Real Madrid's trying to bully referees. But how much truth to there is this? I really only seen this in one place. Is there any chance that his behavior is going to keep him from a Ballon d'Or, Nick? And does he deserve it this year?
He would be my personal pick for the Ballon d'Or this year.
I gotta be honest with you. I think he's mine.
I'm saying I think he just edges Rodrigo for me.
Mm-hmm.
Or Rodri, sorry.
Rodri. They all look the same.
Yeah. But in terms of could it hurt his chances, I think, yeah, maybe, purely for the fact that the Ballon d'Or is a vote by people like at the end of the day, right? And so it's a popularity contest.
Sure.
Always has been, always will be. Obviously, you have to be really good, but
yeah,
you know, that's just to get yourself into that conversation.
Messi was more popular than Haaland. I get it. You know, that's,
yeah, exactly. Like, did Messi win that purely on like his footballing exploits? Not necessarily. There was a lot of people who made the argument, oh, this is the last time Messi can win it, whereas Haaland has plenty of chances. That should never be an argument for why someone should win the Ballon d'Or.
No, it shouldn't.
And yet it was. And so there is the chance that if enough people are getting pissed off with what Vinicius is doing, whether he's right or not in what he's saying, you might sway enough people to vote away from you in that popularity contest that he maybe loses it. But
see, I disagree. I think they're more likely to vote for him considering the way the media is. Orson?
Oh, he's definitely playing up to the media and to whoever he can to get attention. Basically, he's an attention seeker. So
yeah,
I don't agree with his antics at all. I don't think he should be, like provoking, like poking the bear.
He provokes and cries. Surprised he doesn't dive more
exactly.
often. He's not even much of a diver. You know, that it just feels like that's what he's doing, provoking and crying. You know, I mean,
provoking and crying. Yeah.
No, that doesn't relieve the responsibility of the jerk off racists in the crowd. I get that, but like, let's not make this situation worse. This is not a Lukaku situation with him. This is like Lukaku was taking a lot of stuff from a lot of racist scumbags, and he got a red card for it. It's ridiculous, you know. The MLS players were shushing the crowd. And by the way, it's one of the few protests that I agreed with politically. I definitely supported Lukaku on that. Yeah, if you can't, it's one thing if you can't ever give it back. It's another thing when you're just looking for trouble. You know, and he does it, and he's made some crazy. And I don't like the idea that he's the Martin Luther King. I don't think he's fit. I don't think he's mature enough. I think there's probably a conversation to be had about what happens out there, but I don't think he's not the guy. I don't think he's mature enough to be that guy to attack that problem, so to speak. Am I wrong?
If he was mature enough, he wouldn't be doing it on the field.
Yeah,
he'd be
doing
rallying a campaign.
Yeah, he seems to be doing both, acting mature and then being the guy. You know, and that's the thing that I find most interesting. Now we are doing the oddballs as we always do. Do you have an oddball this week, Nick?
Just a little note, I suppose. There's some weird stuff going on with Braintree's kits at the moment.
What's going on with Braintree's kits? Do we have a? You probably should have sent that to me.
I probably should have.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get it. Braintree kits.
It might not come up.
Braintree Town. Let me go to images here and I'll check it out. Okay, let's check this out.
So that third image is the new kits for the season. At least it was announced. Mm-hmm. It was made by Reggie Lamb, the goal scorer from the final, the guy who scored the winning header.
A great game. We actually covered it here, strangely enough. We did a watch along and that was fun as hell. But go ahead. Yeah,
so it's his own brand that has made the kit.
Mm-hmm.
But in the past 2-3 games, Braintree haven't been wearing those kits. They've been wearing new different shirts, which aren't up on pictures, but you can see them on their Twitter account from just pictures from the games. They've got a white away shirt and the home is orange with a white stripe on it. And for some reason, and they've just not said anything about it. They've not acknowledged the fact that the kit has
bizarre.
changed. A couple of people have replied to it, myself included, have been like, "What's going on there?" The Reggie's site is all sold out on the kit, so you can't buy the kit that he made.
Wow.
As you can see there, like John Akindo wearing a white one. That obviously wasn't one of the two you just showed. And they're just not saying anything. Reggie Lamb played in our last game. He came back, came off the bench and played. So the guy who makes the normal kits is back in the team, but they've just said nothing about the fact the kits have changed.
Do you think
They've not acknowledged it at all.
Something tells me they didn't submit right or something like that. That's
my, my assumption is his company isn't paying the money they agreed.
Oh, that makes much more sense. Yeah, okay.
That's but the fact he played again the other day makes it so much weirder, right? Because he went on international break with Bermuda, and then Braintree started wearing these different shirts, and then he's come back. He's come off the bench in the last game and played, and they still haven't said anything. They've not acknowledged the kit's changed. They haven't said why.
It's so weird.
They've not said shit. They've just posted pictures of people in the new shirts, like from the games. People have replied to their posts saying like, "What's going on?" and they've just not replied.
That's just so weird.
That's just the weird thing that's going on at Braintree at the moment.
That is truly an
Braintree
oddball.
have a very good Braintree have a very good social media platform, don't they? They do tend to.
Yeah, they're pretty active, but it's just that's the weird thing that's going on at the moment is we've changed kits and they've said nothing about it.
But
okay,
do you have an oddball? I don't know. It's gonna be hard to beat that one. I can't beat it.
Yes, definitely hard to beat that one.
Yeah.
I was just thinking again today after watching Arsenal score from a corner kick, how the art of the long throw is still underutilized by teams in all divisions, and I think that every team should have a designated long thrower. Because my God, how much of the game?
I agree. We've had this conversation 2 years ago. It could make a huge difference in the 80th minute and on, because how many times are you got center backs just clearing it any way possible when they're down by a goal? I mean, or at a draw, and they're playing for a draw. I mean, having a guy that can get it into the box, which is no guarantee. There's no perfect way to do it. But boy, do your odds go up on tying up a game if you got a guy that can rifle it in there. And a lot of it is because you Europeans can't throw. You all throw like girls, and you didn't play baseball. But I really don't understand that. I tell you something else I don't understand. I don't understand why they don't have kids. And maybe it's a type of thing like a curveball, because they don't let kids throw curveballs before they pass puberty, because it can really mess up your arm. As it's developing. I don't understand why they don't practice more free kicks with kids and have them, because you have a free kicker is almost the same situation. You could be super, super dangerous. I mean, even a broken down, you take a broken down 50-year-old David Beckham, and if you could throw a guy out there just for a free kick, holy crap, are you a weapon? So I don't understand it, why they wouldn't, concentrate more on throw-ins. Do you have any opinion on that, Nick?
I agree with the points of, it would make them so much better. So I don't think I really have much to add there. The only thing I can say is I recently was thinking about this myself, and you know how bigger YouTubers do videos where they do football videos with ex-footballers and stuff. Like they'll get a footballer on and do some football challenges. I was thinking not so long ago, how cool would it be to have a complete niche video like that if you were big enough, where you get all the big long throwers that are notorious,
awesome.
like your Rory Delap, your Aaron Gunnarsson from Iceland. Braintree used to have a guy, Exodus Hagen. He could throw it from the halfway line and hit the box. Imagine how cool a video would be where you get all these big long throws and just have long throw competitions between them. I would absolutely love that.
That's awesome.
And that was just a random thought I thought about the other day. Was it would be like one of those really niche football videos, but it would be cool as fuck just to see who has the longest throw, who is actually the best long thrower in the game.
That would be great. No, I go ahead. I'll go ahead.
That would be cool.
No. You got it. Okay. I guess I'll do my oddball, which it can't even mildly compete. I'm just gonna I don't know, shout out my own club. VN Wiesbaden, big win after packed house in Essen. Third place, relegation zone. Let's get back up there. I can't even say the name of that team, but I know they're paid. Eisenbridge Au, they're in first place. They haven't played a full 5. Maybe they played tonight, or they're playing right now, or they played already. They're up, but Van maybe going back up. Some nice moves made. The guy that I thought was the next Harry Kane has probably lost his job because every time he gets subbed for, the sub scores, and he started his first game and got a brace. So that would be. He spells his name Faith, but it's like Fata Kaya, and I'm super excited about that. As you guys have seen, Van can be pretty entertaining and make you bite your nails. So as for my third-year league Bundesliga team, it's going to be interesting, and maybe we'll do a watch along for a big game coming forward. We don't really have a derby in this league because Eversberg's up there. But I think I want a huge game could be either with Eisenberg Aue or Dresden Dynamo. So we're going to cover that, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm really happy with the way the team's playing. I'm not happy with Sasha Makenhop not being the captain. It seems like they give the captaincy for financial reason. They gave it to him so he'd resign, and now they gave it to Stritzel. Oh, here's another thing I wanted to point out. Let's see if you guys agree with me. Something happened yesterday. Stritzel had an off game. Okay. He also had a clean sheet. Do we always a clean sheet's a clean sheet. Certainly the goal, but he contributed to it. He kept them all out, but he fumbled a lot of balls. He just had an off day. Is it fair to judge goalies by their clean sheets? Because have you guys seen games where clean sheets weren't really to the goalies, more to the defense?
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot,
Orson's seen a lot of that last season. I remember late on in the season they did a stat comparison between David Raya and Emi Martinez when they were playing Villa. It was David Raya had to make 40 saves in 34 games or something like that. It's he's making a save a game, and he had the most clean sheets in the league. So clearly that just speaks to how unreal the Arsenal defense was last season.
Yeah, I think a clean sheet is a clean sheet. I think it should be celebrated, even if your keeper has an off day, because Raya has had a few of those where he's had a clean sheet and he's nearly fumbled 2 or 3 chances, so I think a clean sheet's a clean sheet.
Well, I think should we be attaching more clean sheets to the defense, to the center backs, and put them in part of their stats? Yeah, I think that's the solution to the problem right there.
Yeah,
put a stat, and I don't think it's enough. So I think they should start counting secondary assists. Personally, I know a lot of number 10s get ripped off because it's not the final pass; it's what set up the final pass. So, and they do it in hockey. I'd love to see more secondary assists involved. They're just as important as primaries and goals, if not more, in a lot of cases. So I like to see. I grew up on baseball. I want to see more stats. I think football fans would enjoy it as much as I do. And we live in an age of advanced stats and internet, and we have access to math and real-time scores. Let's do it. Let's bring in the secondary assists. Let's bring in the long throw-ins. Let's bring in all that stuff. Averages on free kicks, all that stuff, which I think they might already have. But put it in the back of the damn football card. That's what I think.
I haven't seen a free kick scored this season yet. I don't know. Has anyone seen a free kick scored?
I have, actually, in the third league, strangely enough. But that's it. That's all the time we got. Thank you for being a part of Glory Hunters. I hope you appreciate the podcast. Make sure you support our channel. And if you want to make content, this is the place to do it. And it gets me out of work. Take care and have a great one.